Good Monday Matters. I hope you had a wonderful Sabbath and are enjoying a new week and all that God has in store for you. My name is Mike Courtney, and this is Monday Matters. Every week we take a few minutes to talk about something to make your life happier, healthier, and perhaps a little bit holier. I hope that, like many people, that you have today off. It's Memorial Day, and you are able to relax and be with family and remember some of the good things that God has done in your life. My aunt sent me a email this couple of days ago, a picture of my father's grave. He's buried in a military cemetery in Williamstown, Kentucky, and they had gone and put flowers on the grave, and that's what people used to do a lot on this day, and still do some. And I hope that you take time to remember the sacrifice that people have made for you. That got me thinking that a good Monday Matters might be to talk a little bit about memory. Isaiah 46:9 says, "Remember the former things of old, for I'm your God and there is no other." Remember. Sometimes it's good to just sit around and remember. And by the way, before I forget, the older I get, the harder it is to remember. Doris and I will walk around with the car keys in our hands, looking for the car keys so that we can go somewhere. Memory is an interesting thing. It's a difficult thing. It's not entirely reliable. One of the things that we are learning in trials and repressed memories and those kinds of things, that memory is not very reliable. That we can kind of create our own memories, and memory is selective. We can pick and choose what we remember and how we remember it. Joshua was a freshman. My son was a freshman in high school, and he was playing on the baseball team. He was not starting. He was playing behind his very best friend, as a matter of fact, who was the shortstop, and Josh was playing behind Steven. And about the third game, they were playing at Father Ryan, which is like a minor league. It's just incredible. And the third baseman was a senior, and he was pretty good, but he just kind of had a bad attitude. And something happened, and the coach said to Josh, I was sitting there, he said, "Courtney, have you ever played third base?" Josh said, "No, sir." And he said, "Well, go ahead and play it now." Now, here's the way I remember it. Josh said he remembers it differently, but I remember that I prayed, "Oh, God, help him to do well." And out of the next 10 balls, about 8 of them were just smashed at Josh. And he fielded everything. Now, I'm remembering this right. He fielded everything. I mean, he was backhanding them and laying out and throwing a runner out from his knees. It was amazing. And Josh started, this part I do remember, Josh started at third base for the rest of his high school career. I remember that. He remembers a little bit differently. I talk to couples sometimes, particularly when they're in a very difficult strait, and they will say, I'll say, what's been good in your marriage before? Nothing. It's always been bad. Our marriage has always been bad. And that's not true. They are choosing to remember. On the other hand, Doris gave me a card a couple of years ago, and she wrote on the card, "You have always been the greatest husband in the whole world." And I said, "Did you read my book?" "No, that's not true." But she chooses to remember it differently. So we can choose to remember. And on this Memorial Day, I jotted down 4 things that I encourage you to choose to remember. First of all, choose to remember victories over defeats. We've all had defeats. We've all had losses. I choose not to remember those. Choose to remember the victories. Remember the time that you did well, that you won, that you came out on top, that you did the right thing, that you made the good choice. Choose to remember victories over defeats. I had a friend passed away a few years ago who's a professional golfer, and he would say on every hole that he played, he would go back and remember before he played that hole. He would remember a time when he had played that hole really, really well. And I said, "Mark, what happens if you played it really bad?" He said, "I don't remember that." Remember the victories rather than defeats. And when we remember them, we begin to relive them. Not remember them, but to relive them. We begin to live and act that way again. Here's number 2. Remember your friends and not your foes. We all have foes. We all have people that have been against us from time to time or turning. Remember your friends. There are more people that love you than you can possibly imagine. Remember those, dwell on those, think about those people, send notes to those people, reflect on those people. Don't sit around. Don't give your foes control of your life by sitting around and dwelling on them. Instead, remember your friends, the people that have loved you. I always say people that love you don't need explanations, and people that don't won't believe them anyway. So focus on your friends. Here's number 3. Remember forgiveness rather than grievances. I could remember grievances. I could remember something that somebody did that offended, but you know what I remember instead? All the times that I have been forgiven. All the times that I messed up, that I did wrong, and God and Doris and other people have forgiven me. So when that thing comes up, choose to remember all the times you were forgiven rather than the grievances of that other person. And then here's the final thing. Remember the goodness of God over everything else. Life is hard. Sometimes we go through difficult things. I choose not to remember those things. I choose to focus on the goodness of God. Doris and I, early in our recovery, Doris actually decided this. She said, I'm going to ask God every day for one thing and say, God, would you do one thing for me to help me remember that you love me and you're working on my behalf? And then at the end of the day, we would go back and we would remember that one thing, that good. Well, I would just tell you, it was hard to remember one thing because God did so many things. Remember the goodness of God over everything else. Psalm 143:5 says, I remember the days of old. I meditate on you and all you've done. I ponder on the works of your hands. Boy, that's a good Memorial Day. Remember God and all he's done. And by the way, remember, I'll try to post something every day about remembering. Thanks for being a part of Monday Matters. I'll see you next week.